Presenting His Excellency Huey Pierce Long, the dictator of Louisiana, the enigma who is making many Americans regret that the United States ever purchased Louisiana.
In 1935, Huey P. Long, the 42-year-old red-haired, puffy-faced, larger-than-life governor of the state of Louisiana, seemed headed for national political power when he met a very local and very unpolitical assassination. Luckily, some people said.
Huey Long loved power, and he loved to execute it and use it. He didn't care who he used. He used the mob. He used all sorts of unsavory characters to get what he wanted.
It is our estimate that 4% of the American people own 85% of the wealth of America, and that over 70% of the people of America don't own enough to pay the debts that they owe.
Huey Long was a great rabble-rousing orator.
He made himself into a spellbinding speaker by mimicking the black Baptist preachers he'd heard as a boy, and made himself into a lawyer by taking 3 months of law school.
Read in the words it was written in. Instead of the masses of America, 75 to 80 to 85% of the people not only give up their property year after year, but they go further and further and further into economic slavery.
On sheer personal force and a wagon load of glowing soak the rich up the poor promises, he ran twice for governor of Louisiana, and at the age of 35 made it. Astonishingly, he kept his promises.
He was a man who was a populist. He built schools. He took care of families.
Roads were paved, bridges built, hospitals erected, free textbooks distributed, and the poll tax abolished.
For all his good deeds, Huey Long's methods were anything but noble. In fact, he was very impatient with the democratic process.
While other state legislatures were campaigning to get rid of slot machines, Long strong-armed the machines into Louisiana. The state became America's slots capital, and Long's political machine was flush several million times over.
He inhibited democratic powers and became, in effect, dictator of his own state. In 1930, he was elected to the United States Senate, but he didn't take a seat for 2 years because he didn't want the lieutenant governor to take over back in Louisiana. And in fact, he had the National Guard surround the Capitol and the mansion and prevent the lieutenant governor from occupying either one.
And the only difference that I have found between the Democratic leadership and the Republican leadership was that one of them was skinning from the ankle up and the other one from the ear down when I got to Congress.
By 1934, Huey Long had visions of becoming president of the United States, and his theme, "Every Man a King," gave him influence far beyond Louisiana. He had supported Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
I, Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
But now, Franklin Delano Roosevelt was his enemy.
I will faithfully execute the office.
If there were any doubt about Long's intentions, the title of a book he wrote in 1935, My First Days in the White House, cleared it up nicely.
Huey Long did the New Deal one better. He proposed a guaranteed family income for every family in America, and he also proposed a homestead allowance for every family in America.
A thorn in Long's side was Judge Benjamin Pavey, who had criticized him for years. Worse yet, he had won re-election for years without Long's help. In this tiny vendetta that would launch his death, Long began a smear campaign against Pavey and introduced a bill in the Louisiana legislature to redraw the judge's election district.
Judge Pavey was gerrymandered out of his election district. And Judge Pavey was the father-in-law of Dr. Carl Weiss.
Dr. Carl Weiss was a brilliant young physician, high school valedictorian at only 15, a physician at 21. He was upstanding and well-liked, and apparently a world-class grudge holder with a fatally overdeveloped sense of family honor. On the evening of Sunday, September 8, 1935, the day after his father-in-law had been pushed out of office, Weiss told his wife he had a house call to make. Dressed in an immaculate white linen suit and straw hat, he kissed her and his baby son goodbye and headed toward the Capitol building.
On September 8, 1935, the Louisiana legislature was in session, and Long was there, cajoling people wandering up and down the aisles, being Huey Long.
Shortly before 9:30 p.m., the legislature recessed, and Long, accompanied by ever-present bodyguards, strode out of the House of Representatives and into the rotunda of the Capitol. Dr. Weiss was waiting his approach with a Belgian .32 caliber revolver in his pocket.
Weiss falls into step with Long, reaches into his pocket, pulls out the pistol, shoots Long.
Long was hit in the right side at point-blank range. His entourage dived at Weiss, grappled briefly, and separated to shooting distance.
A small war erupts. Machine gun fire, pistol fire. 30 bullets hit Weiss in the chest, 29 in the back, 2 in the head. The walls and the floor of the State House are pitted beyond restoration. Long staggers down the stairway to the main floor and falls into the arms of Public Service Commissioner James O'Connor. "Jimmy, my boy, I've been shot," he says. At 4:10 a.m., Huey Long died.
His last words, "God, don't let me die. I have so much to do." Weiss was given the largest funeral of any assassin in American history. Thousands stood in pouring rain. Friends, former patients, civic leaders, a former governor, a former congressman, the district attorney, and the entire Baton Rouge medical profession. Later that week, a state funeral for Huey Long attracted 30,000 mourners. He was laid to rest in a huge marble tomb on the Capitol grounds he helped to design. The most improbable of American assassins, Carl Weiss bore no resemblance to the psychopathic, angry loner. Many would say that outraged family pride wasn't enough motive for this assassination. But nobody has come up with anything better.
Nothing much changed as a result of the assassination. But, interestingly, what would have happened if Huey Long had run for the presidency of the United States and won?
The patrician FDR losing to the tousled demagogue would have given America a man more comfortable with a personal dictatorship than a democracy. How would Huey Long have run the country during the coming Great War against fascism? Perhaps this assassination changed the world more than America would ever know. Huey Long, the rough and tumble Southerner that he was, might have found it ironic that America would one day mourn the passing of a black minister far more than it had mourned Louisiana's governor.
That we as a people will get to the promised land.